Hi and welcome to my channel. This is my first episode for the career series where I'll be guiding you through bronze, silver and gold. I haven't done the tutorials just because I thought the game's only been out 2 weeks now and I thought everyone would probably have done it by now. So 2 tips to start with when you first go into career. Have a look at your bronze but then also look at your silver and gold, even if you just have a glance. Just because sometimes you're just sat waiting for guests and waiting for money to go up. You might have a profit one and the next level might be another 3 or 4 exhibits or habitats. So if you know what's coming next, in a way, you can start, or there's been a couple where the further along you get, your money really drops. So there's one I think that involves a ride and I get the ride done pretty much as I go into the game, so that I'm not losing out on money, and that bit's done without having to sit there for hours just desperately trying to get some more money in. So here is the staff buildings I'm putting in. On this level you can't move any of the train and you can't move any of the water, so it's best to have a look at this when you first go in and start mapping out what animals and stuff you want where, some food courts. You do need exhibits for this one as well, so I tend to have mine right at the front here on the opposite side to the staff, and I also have some food shops there as well. It just means that you've got more room out and about for the exhibits, the habitats, sorry. So bronze, you need 3 habitats, which is quite self-explanatory. 3 different habitat species. You can, when you get these types of missions, you can mix the species in one habitat and that will count. So you could have quite a large African plain and have your zebras, giraffes, elephants, all of them in it, and they would be 1 species per, obviously, animal. So that is something to think about when you go in. I check the market quite early on because you don't get all of the animals on different ones, tend to have different themes animals. So it's better to sort of have a rough idea what you've got available, what you can buy. If anything is good to match up together, then you can double up on your species quite quickly. Save yourself some room. Obviously some animals need more room than others, so it's good to have a look sort of what you can do there. This one isn't the whole series for the career mode. I'm not doing crazily creative. They're not awful. I mean, some of them towards the end where they're quite complicated, I haven't overly thought about where I'm putting stuff, just because I didn't want to spend hours and hours making these beautiful zoos, because in all honesty, once I've done up to gold, I don't plan on going back into them. I might do a series later on where we go back and maybe try and make them look wonderful. I have got that sort of in mind maybe in the future, but right now I'm really excited about going into franchise and sandbox and just having a lovely time, spending hours and hours on a brick waterfall or something. So I didn't want to put too much effort into getting these looking fabulous when they're not going to be zoos that I really play. Obviously everyone's going to be happy and things that they need, but you will see as the series goes on, like now I'm making some little rock features and making it a little bit pretty, and you will find that as it goes on I don't do that anymore. It's just a basic habitat with the right trees and food and water and enrichments and a shelter, and then I move on to the next animal. Here I'm making a little path because I have my tortoises there, and then I was going up the hill to put bison in. I thought they were quite a good one that needs like a lot of land to graze, so I thought that's a nice little section that they can have all to themselves and have a lovely time. Don't forget you can use the null barriers to go through bits like this if the landscape's higher. You don't have to use solid walls going along the front. You can go up and in, and it makes it so that they won't go through the wall. You can also do it on the ground. You can have null barriers and then just put rocks and stuff over it. As long as everything's touching as you're going around the habitat, there won't be any escape points for them to get out. Obviously it needs to be high enough, depending on the animal you're doing as well. So I'm just finishing off this enclosure, and then we shall put some animals in. Just making it a little bit taller so that they don't run away. So I'm just lowering the front here, just because I realise they can't get out, so it means that they can be seen more. If anyone's got any tips on how to have low barriers and not stress out animals, that would be lovely to hear. I'm going to give it a go more in depth in franchise and have a look, but a lot of the time they don't need high barriers because they can't get out, so the guests can have a really good view of their animals in the enclosures, but then the animals get really stressed and they don't like it, no matter how many shelters and plants you seem to put in. So if anyone's got any tips on the middle ground of that, that would be great. So again, I'm putting in some pretty rock places just because it looked a bit bare, but I'm not as creative as we go on, like I've said already. So now the bisons are in, now we're going to just put the turtles in, and then finish up on their happiness. I also recommend, as I'm just doing now, put your vets on researching them. The animals are happy, but they don't have any enrichment side of it, so their welfare is very up and down. So the quicker you get them with some enrichment items in there, then they're a lot happier for a lot longer. There's also food enrichments, which means that their food is a lot better rationed. Sometimes if your keepers are busy, you don't have enough, or there's a crowd of people and they're struggling to get past. If you've got food enrichments in there as well, it means that it just lasts. Food goes a little bit further. So now I'm putting the education in. I thought it's good to have education boards and stuff and speakers anyway, but I thought trying to get the guests up to 350, it's probably a good idea to give them a reason to stay in a bit longer, rather than them just walking around for 10 minutes and then leaving. At least they've got a few boards to read and they can go from there. I just realised that I hadn't done food and water for these little things, so I'm just setting these up. And then I change all the boards. That's another thing you've got to make sure to do once they're in. You need to change the boards to fit the correct animal. Otherwise they're no good. They're just black screens and speakers that are turned off. So make sure once you drop them, you need to change them about. I'm putting the donation bins in. It's a nice way to get a bit of extra money going. Oh, I'm putting another education board a bit lower down with speakers. It's good with the heat maps because you can see how far the speakers reach, because if you overlap speaker to speaker, then people aren't going to understand what's going on. So it's good to make sure you have them spread out. So here I'm just checking, I need one more habitat to do bronze. So here I just got a random facility just to see how far it all comes out. And then I now start building the path for the next animal. I wanted to go along the river a bit just so that it's a nice little riverly canal walk. Here I put a animal hut in. I'm pretty certain in a minute I put some water or electricity there as well. And the next animal that is going in here is a black wildebeest, I believe. These null barriers again, through the scenery, so you don't have to worry about paying for fencing. They're also free, which is really good. So you save yourself some money if there's terrain like this that you can block it up with. All depends on the animal. Some of them are quite good at climbing, so you need to use your heat map just to make sure. If you're not sure on whether they're going to get out or not, that's a good way to see. It comes up, if you click on the animal, it comes up with all the escape paths that they've got and how much land they can walk on. So my research is now done. Just putting in the black wildebeest into this one, ready to get them happy. Now I'm putting the donation bins in. They are really important for some extra cash. They're very fussy at the front whether they want it to be underpriced or overpriced, and until you've got quite an established little zoo going on, you have to have it pretty low. So the donation pots are a very good way to get some cash, especially if their animals inside are extremely happy. You'll get quite a few donations. So now the animals are all in. I haven't given these food and water yet. I'm guessing I will do that in a minute. I didn't have any issues with them, so they obviously got it eventually. Just doing all the terrain for them at the minute, making sure they've got the right thing. Oh yeah, here we go. Food and water. Lovely stuff. Sorry about that. My mic had a funny 5 minutes. So now I'm just making sure they're all happy. Got shelters, they didn't have enough shelter, so now we put some more shelter in. And that's all done lovely. So now the animals are happy, just putting the enrichments in. That's all done for them. Also, if you put similar species of animals in, quite often if you unlock something for them, it also works for the other species. So that's quite good in the fact that you don't have to do lots and lots of research. Sometimes it's quite easy to do it that way. So now I've got all my habitats in. Another way to keep them quite entertained and happy is to do some shops and some toilets. So here I'm building them in. I do actually, in a second, it's all lovely and wonderful, where I came off the game and before I remembered to record the next day, I actually had already decorated the staff rooms and the facilities that I'd put in for the guests. So yeah, any minute now. So there's that one, and then we go back into the video and everything is all beautiful and lovely and all covered up. Oh, we've got a broken water facility. I'm not sure if anyone knows this, but they can fix the water and the electric facilities through that little box that you could see through the wall, so you can completely cover them and keep them right out the way, and make them look a lot better even in your staff section. Here I got really excited because we had babies, and then we went over here because someone had caught a disease, so we called a vet over. More research done. And then I set to record the disease that we had. I got that into research so that hopefully they could fight it off quicker. And then I hired a load more vets, just because one of them come up that they were critical and contagious, and I didn't want to lose any of my animals. I think it spreads from habitat to habitat as well, because very quickly the bison started going downhill. So just keep that in mind when you're one of your animals gets sick on any mode. Pop over to the next animal and just keep an eye on them before they get infected as well. So now I call these Nalas. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Now I'm going to put these in because the next mission is to, so the staff happiness has to be at 73, which I've already done. You need 4 exhibits and you need 7 habitats. So we're now building another one just here. I thought another grassy one would be good. And then in gold, I think it's altogether it's 6 habitat exhibits. So when I make my exhibits, I actually do them all in one go, just so that they're ready and done. So yeah, here I've got my lovely little Nalas. I'm just checking to see if they can go with anyone. I think it's always best to check, because then you can double it up and not need to worry about that. So they're going in there. And then up the top, I'm planning on putting the bears. I think a lot of it with career is that it's worrying about the space. I think plan early on, don't just jump in and start randomly building stuff. Have a look what space you've got, have a look what you need as an end goal, not just bronze, because sometimes you'll make and pass bronze with fine colours, and then you'll realise that you've spent all your money, or you haven't got the right things in to follow nice and smoothly and quickly. I found that a few times later on. Some of the careers I done 5 or 6 times just because I'd get so far and I'd just end up bankrupt, and didn't matter what I did, I wouldn't get any money. And a few times my game crashed and I lost everything. So also remembered to save. So here I'm trying to work out how to have a few more exhibits. I'm going to have a crocodile in this one, just because there's a lot of water. I did realise afterwards that I gave them far too much room. They could have done with a lot less. But hey ho, he's having a lovely time in his little exhibit. So now we're just putting all in the shelters and the habitats for this one, make sure they're happy. They're another sort of what I would class, I'm probably technically completely wrong, but sort of the horsey type, grazing type animals. So you'll probably find, I think the enrichments were very similar. So we didn't, yeah, here we go, putting them in now. So we didn't need to worry about them. Which is another good trick to learn, to save you waiting ages for research. So I'm still going with the trying to make them a little bit more better, putting a few rocks in, having a lovely time prettying this enclosure up before moving to the next one. I found for ages people didn't really walk down here and have a look. It wasn't until I started putting a few more things in and the crocodile went over that it sort of came together. So the crocodiles are scheduled, I'm just moving them over now. They've got way too much land. If you do a similar plan to me, I'd squash down the land for the crocodiles a bit, or the water ratio. So I'm just pimping up the education again, making sure everyone's got the right things and it's all set to the right animal. The crocodiles have gone in straight into the water. I do apologise, one of my animals got out, so I was just changing this to wood. But I do apologise for some of the camera angles. Obviously I'm brand new to YouTubing and also the Planet series, so if there is a second where I'm zoomed right far in or it's a weird angle, I'm hoping that it will all improve with experience. Same with the content. If I'm talking a load of rubbish, hopefully they will. It will tone down and be more knowledgeable as the series goes on. So now we're doing the crocodiles, getting them their little areas checked, and I had unlocked something for them that they could use, so I put the football in. I'm not sure if I researched for them or not. Yep, no, I was on it, straight onto the research. So then I was told that my tickets were underpriced, so I just came over and put them in. And then put some security guards down. So I'm just checking, I need the exhibits, but then I go down to gold, and I realise that I also need more down there. So now I'm just trying to work out, I've thought about a a Japanese McCoy. I'm not sure if I've said that right. to go over on the island. I wanted to really cool the whole island just for the monkey, and then I later on realised that the keeper needs to come in and out, so I had to slightly change it a bit. But this is the path to go round, so they can also have a nice little look at the crocodiles while they're up there, and it's a sort of loop round rather than getting congested because they're going backwards and forwards. The pathing can be a bit of a struggle now and again, but it always seems to work eventually. You just got to keep playing around until you find the right way. This grid scheme is great for little platforms as well. If you switch to that, you get a nice even platform with all of it joining up nicely. So this is when I did my null barriers, and I thought I was being really clever, going all the way around the island and having a lovely time. And then I realised that the keeper needs to get in somehow, so I then came back round, deleted a load of it, about half, and then went in with brick, just so I could have a door. And then I went back to null to finish it off around the other end. Oh, excuse me. There we go, lovely. So then I put a door in and I start trying to do the staff path, and it all goes a bit complicated for a while. I have to delete path to make path and get it all going round. So that would be another tip. Really think about where your pathing's going. Maybe get all your habitat. If you've got enough money, maybe just map out your habitats with your barriers and your doors, so that then you can maybe have the paths going up a little bit, just so that you know where you're coming from, what you're joining on to. So now I should be able to do my staff path nice. Now I've moved that around a bit. I end up having a little platform going on here. But it didn't like the barrier, so I decided to go a little bit further down and then make another one, which seemed to work lovely. Then I make this slightly bigger just because there's monkeys going in, I didn't want them to get out. And then I do my staff path, get rid of the little bit of path that was randomly in the enclosure, and also the random bit of barrier. So now I think I must have gone to get a drink or something. Oh no, I'm back. And now I'm checking to see what monkeys we have. So yes, it is these guys. I feel like I'm saying them wrong. Japanese macaws. Hopefully I'm not too far off. So now I'm just checking to make sure everyone's alright. For some reason these weren't doing as good. I think I'd already put the water in and then I moved him over because he didn't know where it was, so I gave him a little helping hand before he dehydrated to death. So now my monkeys are in, I can start working out what I can do. So there's an escape point there. As I was saying with the heat maps, they're really good when you're using null barriers because you can instantly find out where you're going wrong and where they're going to run off to. So now I start with the terrain. I tend to always do the terrain first, just so that if there's a different type of terrain that's the main of, I tend to cover it in that so that it's half right, and then I'll go back and do the other ones that are less in percentage. I also do that first because I think once you start putting trees and stuff in, you can finish it up, but if it's an animal that has quite a clogged habitat rather, you can't really see the ground, so it's best to get them done first. So now I'm putting in some climbable trees. I prefer the climbable trees to making the wooden structures. I just think it looks a bit more natural. It's what they'd naturally use rather than running around on wood. Again, checking to see what they can have enrichment wise, which means that the research wasn't as important. I'm not sure. I think the first one has food in. Oh, and that one you can use for food. So I'd already done the enrichment, which was really good. More research done. And then again, it is important to have some education boards around, just so the guests know what's in the exhibit. And also you can keep them hanging around for longer, build up that guest intake of how many you have in the park at one time. So I'm just putting them boards all around the place so that they can have a good old read of what they need. Then I realised that there was no power, so I was trying to work out where to put this that wouldn't upset the guests too much. And then I do the enrichment for the crocodiles and realised that he needs some water, and I didn't give him a water thing, so I thought he'd drink from the river. But no, he wants some fresh in a tap piped to him, so we sorted that out for him. So now I'm making another little enclosure here. I wasn't going to use the end, and then I thought, oh, they're quite pretty. Bit of ready habitat in there. I think I put walls in here, if I remember correctly. And then I start using a cue path. Okay, over there so the staff can get in. And then I go animal shopping. So here I do think it's wolves. Yep, here we go. I start picking out some wolves and get them in. And then I have 2 bears ready to go up the top. So now I completed the top and bottom. So I have the right amount of species in, and I have staff happiness enough. So now all I need left now is the exhibits. So I was trying to map it out so that I could have all 6 of them, all lovely, in sort of a maze type shape that customers could then, or guests rather, could then walk through and have a lovely time. It didn't really work out, so I ended up just doing bog standard straight one. I have got quite a cool little exhibit which I couldn't use in here because I hadn't unlocked everything, which is a type of, it's like 4 exhibits in a circle with 2 circles on top, all in new modern stuff, and then it's got plants at the top which looks really cool. So yeah, as you can see, I'm trying to connect all the paths up. It's looking awful. It's not really working out, so I end up just splitting them up. And I think I have 4 and 2 or 3 and 3. Can't remember how I did it, but I'll get fed up eventually. Oh, excuse me. With all of these exhibits. So here we go. I'm fed up now, so we start again. And I'll just put them in a nice line. And then I think I have 4 here, and then I think about where I can put the others, and then I decide to go just over the bridge, I think. Yeah, and then I have another 2 here to make up the right. I actually do decorate these. This was the first one, so I thought I'd be a little bit creative on them. And then as I started going through, I thought I'm just wasting hours on making them Famdoidosi, so I started doing basics of how to complete the levels rather than how to make it look outstanding. So I'm just putting the roof in now. And then we start looking at the exhibit animals, which I think are underrated, bless them. I don't think anyone really bothers with them. Maybe we should have a community challenge on exhibit animals. People might start using the exhibits more then. So I'm just putting them all into their habitats. You do really need to research these immediately as soon as they go in. They don't need a keeper to walk them to the enclosure. Once you click on it, it goes straight in. So it didn't matter how happy they were. So it meant that as soon as the last animal was in, we completed silver and went straight into gold. I'm just making sure. For some reason, this is when my tortoises start getting stressed. I think it's just because there was so many people. They're right at the front, and the busier it was getting, they didn't like it. I also ended up with lots of cute little baby wild American bison, which was cute. I'm just making sure everyone's happy before I continue. So now I'm at the top, just off where the American bisons are, for my last 2 enclosures. I think it's only another 2 for this one, and I end up having bears up here. I thought it would be quite cool to have a little bear section where they all hang out. So I go for grizzlies and the 4 Orson bears. I've probably said that wrong again, I do apologise. They're black. I end up putting these here. Again, not in the most neatest fashion. More to get the stars than make it look wonderful. So make it bigger so they can't escape. You can do most of them. Sometimes it doesn't let you do them all in one go, but if you just follow it round, drag the arrow round, sometimes, most of the time, you can move it all. So I'm just trying to find a place to put the other glass, just so that people can see what's actually in there. I don't have too much glass because they don't like crowds and crowds of people, especially the black bears. So now I'm trying to find them in my list of animals. So I'll put 2 there, and then I go shopping, and I'm pretty certain it's grizzly. Yeah, here comes the grizzly bears, the bear corner, and then we pop them in as well. So yeah, we need at least 10. So I'd already done through working, because you already had the 6 exhibits, your staff was healthy. They were already ticked, so it was just about getting animals into the exhibits to pass gold. So I make these all pretty, make sure they've got food, water, as much enrichment as I can offer them before doing any research for them. Again, I just use what's available. I'm not making anything too glamorous. And then that is gold finish, so I do finish off making the bears happy. Just because you like to think that while you're not here, it's a bit like Toy Story and they all go off and have a lovely time without you. So I just wanted to make sure they were prepared, just in case I don't get round to coming back and making it all happy and lovely. So I do finish the bears off. So the trick for this one is 6 exhibits, so make sure you leave a bit of land to get them in. The species, the land isn't movable, so make sure when you're planning it out, work out where you're going to put them all. And then the other one is staff, which seemed to be pretty easy for me. They just, once you've got all the right buildings in and stuff, they were happy to just plod along. So maybe make sure you have enough of them in, so there's not just one or two overworking. There's enough for them to share the load. So now I've moved on to the grizzlies, and I'm doing the same with them. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch my video. Anything you want me to do tutorial wise, pop it into the comments and I'm more than happy to do it. Sorry if this isn't if it's a bit all over the place. This is actually my first ever YouTube video, so I'm pretty new to it, but hopefully in time I will get a lot better, and I'll pay attention more when I'm recording what I'm doing, so the cameras aren't too wafty and off the mark. I don't think it's been too bad, but yeah, and don't forget, if you want to see the rest of the series, hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. This is just an outlay of what we've got, what we ended up with. As you can see, it went a bit big for the crocodiles. Yeah, and thank you for watching.